Hi everyone, I'm Karnak. This is Star Wars Armada Explained. It's your buddy, it's your pal. I appreciate you watching the video. We're going to be looking at the upgrade card Flak Guns today. So Flak Guns, let's start going from top to bottom. Boy, I love that card art. All the card art, the new card art is just so fantastic. But Flak Guns, you'll notice there's no dot or bullet point in front of its name, which means this upgrade is not unique. You can equip, one Flak Guns upgrade card per ship as long as they have the offensive retrofit slot. Bottom left-hand corner, you'll see again it's equipped to the offensive retrofit. Opposite corner is its point cost. It's only 3 points. And considering what this upgrade is able to accomplish, it's just a neat little tool in the toolkit. I think 3 points is perfect for this card. Let's go through. So Flak Guns. The first part of this card effect is treat each die in your anti-squadron armament as black. The second part of this upgrade card effect is while performing a salvo attack, the black die in your battery armament can be used at medium range, and the blue die in your battery armament can be used at long range. So for 3 points, this upgrade card effect I think is very powerful in both parts. Or even if you're only wanting to optimize one part or the other part, you really can't go wrong with this card. And I love the fact that it's not faction locked. It can be across all the factions. I know I've been seeing some ISDs and some oh my gosh, what are the card? MC80s tromping around with Flak Guns. There we go. So let's cover the first part. So the first part of Flak Guns is treat each die in your anti-squadron armament as black. Some players have some confusion still kind of about this. I don't blame them. The card is worded correctly. There's some people that wanted it to be like 3 times as long so it explains every situation. It's like, no, you don't need that. Because like with most rulings, if you look at it and break it down to each part, the wording there is sufficient to convey the game rules. So what does it mean by treat each die in your anti-squadron armament as black? Well, if you have a ship and your ship is attacking a squadron, instead of gathering your normal anti-squadron armament, you're instead gathering black dice. So, for example, if you had a ship that used to roll double blue, it would instead pick up double black, because it's essentially if you took a marker and scribbled out your squadron battery armament on your ship and then scribbled in black, that's essentially what this card is telling you to do. It's your anti-squadron armament is black, period. But again, we'll go through some of the situations where people have some confusion, and we'll also look at some of the official answers that we have that helps clear this up. So the first thing that we have for a frequently asked question was, when I equip Flak Guns, are my anti-squadron die always black, or can I decide what colors to use? Some people thought that this could be optional, that you didn't have to use this card's effect. Obviously, yes, when you gather die, you will always gather black die. The only exception to this is salvo, as salvo uses the ship's printed anti-squadron armament. So that's the only case where you don't gather black die, is if you salvo. Because the upgrade card doesn't say treat your anti-squadron armament as black, including when you salvo. It's just black, but as we know, salvo specifically calls out you must use printed anti-squadron armament. So there's kind of a fight there, but because the rule, the RNG says you must use printed, and the Flak Guns doesn't say any keyword modifiers that overrides the must, RNG wins out. So that's the only time where if you salvo, you gather the original anti-squadron color armament and not black die. And then people, what was the next one? If I'm attacking a squadron at long range with red die, can I use Flak Guns to replace that red die with black and then attack? No, because again, when Flak Guns are equipped, your ship's anti-squadron armament is now only black die, limiting you to close range attacks unless otherwise specified. Some people thought that this was kind of like a heavy fire zone type of thing, where you could shoot with red die, and then as you go to gather the red die, you would be able to swap it out for black and then roll a black die instead. And again, that's not the case. That's not what this card's telling you to do. Again, look at heavy fire zone as an example for how that would work. So that's not what this card does. Again, it's turning your anti-squadron armament black. You can only conduct attacks at close range. Again, so you can't try to attack something at long range, then swap the black and then roll black die. Again, when you're making squadron-based attacks, you're only ever gathering black die. Obviously, if you're using other card effects to add in die of different colors, that's different. It's just that your initial gathered pool is going to be black. This includes, somebody asked a question of, what happens if I counter? Does counter turn its blue die into a black die? And the answer to that is yes. Because if you read the wording here, and I've got it right here, so for counter it says, after a squadron performs a non-counter attack against you, you may attack that squadron with an anti-squadron armament of X blue die, even if you are destroyed. So again, counter keyword is giving you an anti-squadron armament of X blue die. In this case, from quad laser turrets, it's 1. So it's still technically an anti-squadron armament. And flak guns treat all anti-squadron armaments as black. So it would turn that blue die into a black die. So in the case of counter, that's what would happen. And I would even say that makes quad laser turrets even stronger. And I think that's definitely like an interaction. It's like, oh, I'm not sure maybe if we thought about this or not. I can't remember from play testing, but I honestly am okay with it. And I think that's great. I have some people think that it's too strong. I like running an SSD with flak guns because I like trying to build it up to give it salvo and counter, and so I think it makes the SSD die a little bit more reliable. You're almost always hitting that 1 damage with a black die compared to a blue. But there's some builds, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, where maybe you wouldn't want that. Maybe you would want to not have flak guns, or again, if you're not bringing salvo. So that's the first part of the card. Let's see here. I think that pretty much covers almost everything is in regards to the squadron stuff, because it's what most people have the questions about. So let's talk about the second part of the card. So again, that's the while performing a salvo attack, the black die in your battery armament can be used at medium range, and the blue dice in your battery armament can be used at long range. So this is great because salvo, if you're trying to rock a ship where it's got that multicolor like red, blue, black, I love multicolor salvo, but you would find that, again, if you're getting shot at long range, you can only just throw back that 1 red die, or if it's obstructed, you throw back nothing. So it was just really difficult to seem like to get salvo damage to stick at all. So what's great about this is it's helping bump up the ranges of your salvo battery. So if you're being attacked at long range, you're able to throw red and blue dice back at them. If you're being attacked at medium range, you're able to throw red, blue, and black dice back at them. So this definitely helps out some ships being able to get full use of their salvo, especially if you look at, what was it for CIS? Yeah, the provinces, I think it's really useful in the recusants. Obviously, if you're running a recusant support destroyer, you're able to get that blue die on target. I just really think it's great on the recusant light destroyers. It really helps bump that die pool up. Obviously, providences would get the most benefit. But even if you go back and look at ISDs, if you're getting like an ISD2, again, it's got the 2 blue die in its rear arc. So again, if you equipped got a way to get salvo on there and you threw flak guns on it, well, that thing just becomes a beast against small ships. It's like, oh, I'm a small ship, I'm going to throw my 2 or 3 die at you. My ISD's like, okay, and then you chuck all that damage back at them. Great on interdictors like reactive gunnery if you put 2 on there with flak guns. So there's definitely options for Imperials. Again, you kind of have to give up a contain or one of your other defense tokens to get salvo on there, and you have to spend points for that. But if you have a build that makes that work, man, it just really makes those ISDs just punch back just as hard. For Rebels, yeah, you could flak guns, I guess, on the assault frigates, on the Mark A. Not really useful there. Yeah, obviously not useful on the hammerheads, thank goodness. MC-75, maybe on the armored cruiser. I don't know. I still don't think that would be super useful for them. But like I said before, like the MC-80, like the command cruiser, I think it's great on the command cruiser. I don't think anything else really can use it to full effectiveness. Well, I guess if you want to put it on a Starhawk, but you kind of use those offensive retrofits for something else. But Yeah, so like definitely the best place for it on Rebels is the MC-80 Command Cruiser. So lots like yeah, there's lots of different options for it. So that's Flak Guns. There, as far as I'm aware, there's no like crazy anything else. I think all the questions in regards to this card have been answered. But of course, if you see something, if you have questions about something, please leave a comment. Or if it is like an official question that you have, ask that on the Atomic Mass Games rules forums, where that can get reviewed and looked at. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. And again, the support I've gotten for my channel and for everything else. I'm still so excited to be working as a contractor for Atomic Mass Games and doing what I'm doing there and answering questions. It's been a great time. And yeah, so thank you all. And hey, I'll catch you next time. Bye.